Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 18 of Your Favorite Movies. Today, I am joined by Tyler Onna. And how are you doing today, Tyler?
I am doing great, thank you. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about this film. And what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the 1996 Wes Craven classic, Scream.
I love this film so much. One of my all-time favorite horror films. Always will fall into the top 10 forever. This one is really special to me. And do you remember the first time you saw it, man?
This story is so funny. So, my mom was doing like an event. I think it was a charity event. And I was still very young, and it was at a high school, I believe. So, I would normally just sit in the cafeteria, be on my phone until it was over. So, I was going through Netflix, and I saw it was there. And I was like, And I had never seen a horror movie in my life. I might have, but I don't remember. But point is, I wasn't the horror fanatic back then that I am now. I am a huge. I should have positioned myself on the other side. On the other side, I have a poster of Halloween and Alien also. Alien is like,
Nice.
but so I was terrified. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be so scary. So I'm watching it on my phone, and it's the opening scene where Drew Barrymore dies. And when she dies, I was like, that wasn't scary. That was just fun. And after that, I went home and I finished the movie and I loved it. And then I ended up watching all four movies in one night.
Wow.
Then that same year, I bought like a crap ton of horror movies: Scream, Nightmare,
Unknown
Halloween.
Street.
Ever since then, my love for horror has just skyrocketed because of this movie.
Oh yeah, like I just checked here and I watched it for the first time in 2018, like October 2018, and now that I read that, like I was like, "Oh yeah, I do remember this." I mainly remember rewatching it more so than watching it for the first time, but I do remember when like again, spoilers for the film, but when that twist does happen, I was like, "That is amazing." Like a twist kind of, but I was like, "That is amazing." And I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street before, which again is another one of my like top 10 favorite horror films of all time. It's another Wes Craven film and it's great. So is this one. It's always kind of a debate of which one is better. Obviously, I know what your pick would be. And when I rewatched it with my friends, I just thought like yeah, like this movie is just so great. It like parodies the genre while still having some great kills, some great like scares. Obviously, a scary movie, I'd say, but it can be quite intense at times. Do you agree?
Yeah, the third act, in my opinion, listen, Halloween is one top tier, the one of the greatest of all time. But I think I prefer the third act to Scream over Halloween, just because there's some moments in the third act of Halloween that are unintentionally funny, like
Oh, I
when
agree. I agree 100%. I love that film, but some of the stuff is just so
like
cheesy.
some of the dialogue spewed by Jamie. I love Jamie Lee Curtis; she's great, but some of the dialogue that comes out her mouth in that third act is just less
Hey,
than
at least it's not as bad as the friends in that movie. They're kind
oh,
of.
oh my god.
And this is
But
coming from people who love Halloween. Just saying for those who are
yes,
watching.
yes. We're not one of those people. Oh, Halloween is dated. Halloween is it came out in the 70s. Let it be in the 70s. No, Halloween is better than 90% of the crap that comes out now. Okay, but Scream. Honestly, the way I describe Scream, it's influential, and people. I don't think people give it enough credit. And if Scream didn't happen, we wouldn't have movies like Freaky, which I love Freaky too, and we wouldn't have movies like Final Destination, perhaps, or Scary Movie, which realistically, after the second Scary Movie, the less the better. But it's so influential. And another movie that this movie influences is Halloween H2O. And it even has H2O literally has tracks from this movie in H2O.
Oh my
And
God.
you've never seen H2O?
I've only seen the first one and the 2018 one. That's my goal for this year is to watch through almost all of them.
Well, good luck once you finish too, my friend.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It is a very bumpy road, especially when you get to see Michael Myers get karate chopped through a window. But
I think I've seen that clip.
but yeah, there's literal tracks from Scream in H2O. When I was watching it for the first time years ago, I was like, why does that sound like Scream? And it's the exact same track. But every time, what I do on my Instagram is 31 Days of Halloween, and every single day I watch a horror movie. Every single day. And when I get to Scream, I'm telling you, it's like the greatest. I just
Yeah.
get to it and I'm so excited. I've seen Scream so many times. I can tell you the opening scene line for line, word for word.
Really?
I will literally be
Wow.
saying it to myself. And then when this opening scene is over, I'll be like, I've seen this movie way too many times.
Hey, I mean, at least there's a reason for why it's your favorite. That kind of answers a future question, but because you've seen it so many times, it obviously, like, I wouldn't say it's definitely not underrated and underappreciated. Obviously not. It's one of the most famous horror films out there, but it did influence a lot of movies, and I feel like we almost don't talk about it for that reason a lot. Like, again, the cast is amazing too. I really love it, and I actually watched Scary Movie for the first time like 2 weeks ago or something when we were at college. Pretty funny. Not, of course, not nearly as good as Scream, but it's pretty funny, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And there were some times where it went totally overboard, but that's kind of the whole point. But when focusing on Scream, like this one, it's one that kind of inspires me. I figured out kind of as I get older, I really just have a like admiration for horror. I don't know what it is. Like my favorite genre is crime, but there's something about horror films that when I finish some of them, I'm super inspired. The Shining is my favorite horror film of all time, and my favorite film of the year so far. On the day we're recording, I posted a video about it, which is A Quiet Place Part 2. That one and the first one inspire me so much, and I couldn't tell you why. I don't know what it is, but there's something about those films and a lot other. And then when I see a film like this, I'm like, this is so different. And even Wes Craven, who's obviously a very well-respected horror director, obviously creating the Nightmare on Elm Street films, goes on and directs this with a little kind of Nightmare on Elm Street nod in it, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, like this film is just so special when it comes to the horror genre.
Yeah, Wes Craven, man. Rest in peace, man. This guy, he directed two of the greatest horror movies of all time, and even some people
Three,
don't like it. What
three
was
of the best: Nightmare on Elm Street 1,
oh,
3, and Scream.
he directed Dream Warriors?
I think he did. I'm pretty sure, if I
I don't
remember
remember.
correctly. Let me
I
check.
know I know he definitely worked on Dream Warriors, but I don't remember him directing it.
Shit, he didn't. Never mind, people.
Yeah, I
Never
was
mind.
I was about to say, I was be like, okay, how can I forget that he did not, or that he did direct Dream? Dream Warriors is my favorite of them.
Oh, nice. It's
It
as
is.
good as the first one. I watched it for the first time last year. It's so good. That's a side note for those who are
But
watching. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Wes Craven. But your point isn't wrong because he did direct. I wouldn't say this one is the greatest, one of the greatest, but Scream 4 is awesome. I love Scream 4. I don't want to say underrated because people like it, but people always. This is the normal order for how people would rank them: 3, 4, 2, and 1. I would go 3, 2, 4, and 1. That's me. 4 is a damn near perfect movie. Just the third act is a mess. But we're not talking about
That's
that.
fair. I actually haven't seen any of the sequels. I'm sorry to interrupt. I haven't seen any of the sequels. That's another thing this year. I just have goals to get through so many of these franchises. But I'm sorry to interrupt. What were you gonna say?
The funny thing about Scream is it probably, I wouldn't say in terms of like I would. In terms of quality, this is probably the best franchise in terms of horror because of how consistently good they are. 1 is amazing. 2 is really damn good. 3, that's the one where it's like, no, they took it too far. But 4 is again very good. Just the ending messes it up. But Scream is such a consistently. It's not like Halloween where first one's great, second one is really good, third is. Some people really like 3. I'm going to get it this year and give it another chance. The first time I watched it, I hated it. 4, people like that one. I think it's okay. 5 is awful. 6 is even worse. Uh, but you get the point. Like, and Nightmare on
Yeah.
Elm Street too. Like, they're
Yeah.
so different within quality. Because Nightmare on Elm Street is another weird one. Because like the first one's amazing, second one is like
Yeah. Not that good.
weird, weird, and
Weird.
3 is great. And then after 3, it's just all the way to Freddy's Dead. And then New Nightmare is great too. But and Friday the 13th. I mean, Friday the 13th is just weird. It's like you have one legit good movie in the Friday the 13th series. The rest
Which
of
one?
them, 6. The Jason
Okay,
Lives.
like the first one, that's again the only one I've seen. I know that's kind of a thing with me. I don't know why. And I was like, yeah, this is okay. I don't really get why this is a
It is.
classic thing. It's just, yeah, I don't
It
really want to
got
watch it again.
uh, Friday the 13th. The interesting thing about Friday the 13th is I think it's the only horror franchise where not a single soul will say, "Oh, the first one's the best." Not a single soul will say that. I have never heard someone say that ever. I think I've maybe heard one person say that, but everyone normally says 4, 6. One person said the reboot, which I watched it again, and it's actually not that bad. Scream is just, nobody, like, everyone says, oh, Black Christmas or Halloween is the most influential horror movie, which, yes, it is, but realistically, Black Christmas is the most influential horror movie because Black Christmas, even though no one talks about it, Black Christmas skyrocketed horror, and I feel like Halloween just sent it into
Yeah.
orbit.
Halloween kind of shot up like the slasher subgenre, I think, and I feel like you could always argue what the most influential horror film was. You can go all the way back to the 30s and stuff. Like I'm watching through the Universal monster movies again. Like I've seen some of them. So many people could say Frankenstein, many people could say Dracula, and they are great films. Like I really enjoy them, and it's been like about a year and a half since I've seen some of them, but they're really great films. So I feel like Halloween was kind of the one that skyrocketed the subgenre of this, but in my opinion, Scream is even better than Halloween. Obviously, it's they're different in a way, and for me, I don't know if I like Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street more. Like they kind of, or like even one or three, they all kind of battle in there. But I gotta ask, what is your favorite kill in this movie? Because I know what mine is, but what's your favorite one?
Oh man, that's tough. It's probably this probably isn't it, but I would say it's either the principal or the cameraman. Because the principal, that sequence, I don't know why it's so funny. It is so funny. The scene, the scene that always gets me is when the principal he shuts the door and he's yelling at the kids that were dressed up as Ghostface, and I don't know the way he's lined up. It's Fonzie in a horror movie yelling at children,
Yes, it's
and
so
it's
fun.
so funny.
Hey.
It's so, and the other thing, the thing with the cameraman kill, that kill is great. That's probably the most violent kill in the series, other than one from 4, which is brutal. But the thing I love about the cameraman kill is when she gets in the car to drive, and then you see the blood, and she
Yeah.
starts wiping it, and then she drives, and then his body falls. It's like it just keeps going and going and going. It's great. Yeah. The other one that it's a weird kill because realistically it doesn't make sense. But Tatum's kill when she gets her head squished by the garage door. First of all,
That's what I'm thinking of. Like that one might be my favorite one. That one or the cameraman. That's the one that sticks with me the most. It's cool.
Tatum's is kind of funny because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Her first instinct is, oh, let me lift the door a little bit, and then go through the cat door, in which you have to know you won't fit through the cat door.
Hey, at least it's like the scene in Scary Movie where they do that and it won't lift up. That scene's hilarious. I fucking love that scene so much. That one's funny. That one's really good. But yeah, like that kill and the cameraman one, because the cameraman is more so shock because you don't see him, and then when his body falls, like it's like they wait a bit. Wes Craven waits a little bit. I think that's what really makes the movie great. And I wouldn't really say like the kill, but that whole like third act and when the killers are finally revealed and they're like, "Come on, hit me!" and like stab each other. He's like, "Man," like Matthew Lillard's just like, "Man, I think you got too deep." Like I was like, he's so good in this movie. Oh my god.
Lillard has one of the funniest lines, when, among many, but one of the funniest when she goes, "Oh, Stu has a motive. What's yours?" And he goes, "Peer pressure." It's just like, what? Like, where did that come from? I don't know. It's so random, but the comedy in this movie is just incredible. There is not a single joke in this movie that doesn't make you laugh. Like the scene where they're at school and Randy, oh my God, Randy. Probably the greatest character in a horror movie of all time. Randy. But the scene where he goes, "Did you really put her liver in the mailbox? Because I heard that they put her liver in the mailbox next to her spleen and her pancreas." It's just like, what? And then also the scene where they're in the video store and
Yep.
There's a formula to it, a very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect, and then you just see Matthew Lillard go like, it's so funny. But yeah, and the scene, which is my favorite scene in a horror movie of all time, is when they're watching Halloween, and
Yes.
he goes, "You don't know the rules," and then he explains the rules, and he
He
goes,
like stands in front.
"Never say I'll be right back, cause you won't be back." And Matthew Lillard, "Hey, I'm getting another beer. You want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back." And everyone's like, "Oh!" It's just Wes Craven. Just he knew it, and the writer too. It's funny. The writer, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he wrote this one, the second one, and 4. He did not write 3. That tells you the quality of 3. But this guy, he gets comedy, and Nev Campbell, man, she's my favorite final girl over Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
When you see 4 in 4, she is straight kicking the shit out of Ghostface in a sequence. Like, she is straight up fighting him, because at that point she's like much older, and she's like, I've had enough of this shit, bro. I just want to live.
Not like Jamie Lee Curtis, who, not to her fault, but to the writers, who
Yeah.
like they kill him and then he's alive, then they kill him, then he's alive. Like it, I know I haven't even seen a lot of them, but I just know that's how it is. Yeah, she is so awesome. Like I don't know if she is my favorite final girl. That's what I meant to say. I know that I like her more than Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, just because it's either like her or Nancy from Friday, not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, I should not ever compare those two movies. One is so much better than the other one. But I don't know, like there's something about her, even Courtney Cox, like is so good in the movie. Like when I saw her, obviously Friends is my favorite comedy TV show of all time. So when I saw her, I was like, damn, like she's really good in this movie. You hate her in ways, but she's also really good in the movie.
David Arquette is another one, man. He is
Yeah.
such a moron, but he's a likable moron. He gets in 3. I keep talking about 3, and I guarantee you, when you watch 3,
That's
you're gonna
okay.
be like, you were so right about 3. But David Arquette, he gets stupider as the movies go along, and I do think he should have died in this one, because in the second one they do the same thing in this movie they do in the next one. They kill him, and it's like, oh, he's alive. But the thing in the second one is that it's a more violent, like Ghostface like cuts him up in the second, and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm alive, I'm on life support. It's like, what? But in this movie, his I love when he opens the door and she goes back and she sees him and she's like, oh, I'm safe, and then he falls and you just see the knife. And
Yes.
that scene is great, and I love Ghostface is my favorite killer. I don't care. When Ghostface just goes up to his body and just grabs the knife, it's so great. And speaking of Ghostface, the my favorite Ghostface scene is when she's trying to start the car, and he's outside the window with the keys, and he taps on the window. He's like, "Hey." It's so freaking funny. It's so funny. But Ghostface, I know the running joke is like, oh, Ghostface is an idiot because he
Yeah.
falls over a lot. And I think that's kind of the charm of Scream. But what's funny is that it keeps going throughout the series how much how much of an idiot he is. Which, it's funny, people say, oh, Ghostface, when realistically it's a different person every time. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. It's a different person every time. Which, that's another thing I love about Scream as a series, is it's different every time. It's not like Michael Myers or Halloween where it's like, oh, it's Michael Myers again, or oh, it's Jason or
Freddy
Freddy.
Krueger.
It's someone different. That's the appeal of Scream. You go into it, oh, who's gonna be the killer? Who's gonna be the killer? And I'm fearful for this next movie.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm just interested, whoa, to see the sequels because I haven't watched them yet. Again, I'm gonna watch them during Halloween. Like every year, I slowly watch more and more and more and more movies. Like every Halloween season, I just see how many I can get, and I'm gonna try to post videos every single day, like I have been doing almost every day. This year, I posted 221 videos as of today of filming. Today is the Tuesday but the week before this video will actually come out, just because I had to film some like in preparation for that. It doesn't really matter. That's just behind the scenes thing. But like, there's just something so interesting. I feel like that is kind of the appeal that now you mentioned. I'm like, that's so true because it's always a different one. For me, Freddy is my favorite of all the slashers, just because I think maybe it's just because he was the first one I saw. I find him to be the most interesting, and like the whole story, everything with that. I review the Freddy Krueger movies, like the Nightmare on Elm Street films, every year. I've done one, two. This year will be three. I'm really excited to talk about this one. But Scream is just something else. That opening scene remains not only one of the best horror openings of all time, but just one of the best movie openings in my opinion. It might be my favorite horror opening of all time. It's definitely one of them. It's iconic as hell. It's been made fun of not only in Scary Movie, but just in general. People do skits of it all the time, every Halloween season. And Tyler, I have to thank you for coming on. It was a lot of fun. I love talking to other horror buffs because to me, I like have slowly become more of one, and I don't talk about horror too much on my channel unless it's in October. And this year, I bet we can make another video because there's just so much for us to talk about. Maybe we could talk about all the Scream movies. I guess we'll have to see. And is there anything else you want to say about the film?
Not really, just like that. I think it's kind of overlooked by the three giants, Friday the 13th, Nightmare, and Halloween, and I think it deserves to be on that Mount Rushmore with those three and maybe Child's Play because I love Child's Play.
Yeah,
But
Child's Play. The first one I watched that for the first time in October. I really enjoyed that one. That one was actually a lot better than I expect. Again, another example of I need to see the rest of it. Although I don't really know if I want to watch the rest of those because I've heard they get pretty shitty. But
well,
I guess we'll see.
it's funny about Child's Play. That series isn't too bad because two is really good. I prefer two over one.
I've heard
Three
that.
is okay. Bride, I don't know. I think it's Bride then Seed. Bride is really good. Seed is garbage. That's
I've
garbage.
heard that.
And then you have the Netflix ones, which one of them was really good, one of them wasn't. And now we're getting a TV show in October,
Yeah.
which I cannot wait for.
That'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how they take that into a show. And considering I've only seen the first one, I'm interested. And again, once again, it was a ton of fun having you on. I always love making these videos, especially when we get to talk about a film like Scream, which is just something I love. Everybody in this just so good. Scream is just an all-time great. I feel like it always will be. Nobody will ever grow to the film. And join us next week for episode 19. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.